all species, all animals, and human beings love freedom. That freedom, of course, is relative, is not absolute freedom. However, that doesn't mean that it's not important, because it is, in fact, like a mirror of the freedom that we have internally, that is intrinsic, is part of our true nature. So, because it is mirroring our ultimate freedom, this relative freedom, we value it immensely, even animals. How much? Well, life has many gifts, obviously. The gift of health, the gift of abundance, the gift of love, and the gift of freedom, and many others. Out of all these many gifts in the relativistic plane, the gift of freedom is at the top of the list, about the same as the gift of health, which is intrinsically connected, because when we lose our health, we lose our freedom. And it's very likely that what we are really missing, what behind losing our health, is our freedom. The love for freedom is so significant that many have demonstrated this love for freedom by sacrificing their life for their freedom. Many have devoted their whole life to fight for freedom. For example, Gandhi devoted his life to fight for his freedom and the freedom of his country. And he was willing to give up his life in the intent. And in fact, eventually he lost his life, but his life was a great success because he was able to free his country. Although in the relative level, we talk about our personal freedoms and we value them immensely, and these personal freedoms are clearly protected in the Constitution if you live in a free country. However, freedom in the absolute sense is the freedom from the persona. See, the first one is personal freedoms, the second one is freedom from the persona. So freedom from the persona means that you have seen through the persona and you have realized that you are not the persona, that you are not this I that is supposed to be here with certain specific characteristics, that you are not this body, that you are not this mind, that you are not this character, that you are nothing of that, that you are something that is intrinsically free. Intrinsically free means that is intrinsically liberated from all ties. At the absolute level of freedom, you could be in jail and still be free internally. But obviously, that is when liberation has been attained, and the awakening is not enough to bring you to that point. You need to embody the awakening so that liberation is attained, and at that moment, then it doesn't matter how much loss of relativistic freedom is present. You could be free to move around in your country and other countries. You can be free to say whatever you want, or you can be confined to a jail, not being able to express yourself, and it doesn't make any difference at that level. Now, the love for freedom is something that we can cultivate. It's called devotion. And it's necessary, this devotion is necessary to attain complete freedom. Otherwise, you will not attain it. So, when we defend our personal freedom in the relativistic level, we are also cultivating our love for freedom, for the ultimate freedom. We are cultivating that devotion. Therefore, life gives us again and again opportunities to see how much we love our freedom and how valuable it is. So, for example, at this moment that we have had this problem in the planet, and many millions of individuals have been quarantined, even if they were healthy, into their homes, and they have lost their freedom momentarily, their relative freedom. It's an opportunity for us to value our freedom and to realize that our relativistic freedom requires maintenance, that you need to be willing to make sacrifices for your freedom. So otherwise, anyone can come and give an irrational order and quarantine you or put you in jail or who knows what for no reason, because you are a completely healthy person and still you are being forced to lose your freedom. Or like a nephew that came a few days ago, and that he was very upset because he loves to bike and he bikes in the mountains, he and his girlfriend. And in the country that I'm living at this moment, this is forbidden. He couldn't go to the mountains, where he obviously is not gonna be a threat to anyone, neither to himself, and bike, because it's irrationally forbidden. So some people cannot go to the beach, same thing, right? So this is good in the sense that it's an opportunity for him to realize how valuable it is, his freedom. He's a young man and he has to realize that he cannot take his freedom for granted. That if he wants to keep his freedom, his relativistic freedom, he has to defend it. How far? Well, many have lost their lives defending their freedom. Is that valuable? It's at the top of the list of the gifts of life. So in this process of defending our freedom in the external, in the relative, we also grow in devotion for freedom until eventually we begin to yearn for complete freedom, inner freedom, a freedom that is not compromised by anything, a freedom that you could be in jail and still internally you're free. But same thing, to get there, to get to this point, we need devotion for freedom. We need devotion for our complete freedom from suffering. I invite you to become a devotee of freedom, a devotee of liberation, to do not stop fighting for your personal and transpersonal freedom until you have attained complete freedom, absolute freedom. Without that devotion, that love for freedom, we cannot attain it. You need to create that devotion. And fighting for our freedom and liberties in the relativistic world helps us to develop that love for freedom. Without that love, you cannot take one step. If anyone can come to you and put you in quarantine and you lose your freedom for no reason because you are healthy and there is no reason to quarantine you and you don't even raise your voice, you don't love freedom. You need to express love for freedom, feel love for freedom. We need to see very carefully, because those who want your freedom will disguise themselves, right? They will not tell you, I want your freedom, I want to take your freedom and I want to limit your constitutional freedoms. They will not tell you that. So you have to be very careful to see through the deceptions. And the individuals that are totalitarians, they are very good at disguising themselves. So if you live in China, for example, you know what I mean, because they will tell you that they are very democratic, that they respect your freedoms. But if the government comes and tells you, you need to be vaccinated, if you live in a country like that, you have to go with the agenda. If they come and tell you, you're going to go into a quarantine, you cannot move out of your house, you better do it, otherwise they will, who knows what they are going to do to you, right? So on the other hand, this type of governments that are totalitarians, they will disguise themselves. They will say, oh, we are the very democratic, the Democratic Republic of China or something like that. As a side note, in fact, they disguise themselves as the People's Republic of China. Truthfully, they should call themselves the totalitarian regime of China. Look at all the freedom that people enjoy here, but no, there's not such a thing, right? And we know that there is only one party in that country, not many parties, there is only one. It's for a reason. It's a totalitarian regime. And you don't have the right to express yourself, to disagree, and to express your disagreement with the policies of the government. In our countries, in the West, we have the same situation. There are political parties that they are in disguise, they are presenting themselves as democratic. Some of them even carry that name in the name of the party, but they are not. They are socialistic and they are aligned with China, and they will not tell you. So you have to see through the deception and the lies if you love your freedom. And you need to put your freedom at the top of the values, of your relativistic values, personal values. And when you put it at the top, then you begin to see, well, what candidate party is safer for my freedom and my country's freedom? What parties or candidates really love the Constitution of my country with its guarantees of freedom? And then obviously we need to exercise our power in democracy, and we need to vote. And we need to vote for freedom every time. If you love freedom, if you're a devotee of freedom. And make no mistake, there are forces in the planet that want to take your freedom away. It's not a joke, it's not a story, it's not a confabulation theory. Yes, there are forces that want to take your freedom away. Because the Constitution of the United States was born to protect personal freedoms in the 1700s, and it was a great step forward. And the totalitarian powers that have always been in control of the world and the countries did not like it. And since then, they are trying to take over and they have succeeded in some countries, and then they lost their power, their totalitarian power, but they keep trying again. But if your eyes are open, you will do your part at preventing this. This devotion for freedom you need to bring it now into the spiritual path and aim for the ultimate freedom, the freedom that cannot be taken away from you, the freedom from the persona, the freedom of your true nature that is intrinsic, that you know that there is something here that is totally transparent, that has no form, that cannot be burned, that cannot be killed, that cannot be insulted, that cannot be put in jail, that is always free and blissful. So become a devotee of freedom, not a devotee of this guru or that guru. No, that in fact is the opposite. Is when you give away your power, you give away your freedom to someone else. Freedom comes to those who love freedom and are willing to protect it, even with their lives.